True leaders, first and foremost, must be able to hold themselves accountable and must be able to hold others accountable. Often human nature is one of procrastination, is one of fear, is one of making a commitment and then going back on it. And learn how to hold others accountable so that everyone can get to the goal. Hey, Courtney Sanders here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, I'm a full-time online life and business coach as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and do all the things. And in today's video, I want to talk about the #1 leadership skill that you must have in order to achieve success in business. And right now, I am on a leadership kick because as I'm recording this, it's the beginning of 2023. And one of my goals for this year is really to step into my CEO role. So by the way, if you're not following me on my podcast or not subscribed to my podcast, you should totally do that. It's the Courtney Sanders Show on both iTunes and Spotify. But I say that because I just did an episode about this in terms of my transition from being focused on being a coach and coaching clients to being a CEO and building a coaching company that provides results and other coaches even for clients. And so with that, I'm really in this season of scaling, and I feel like there's no talk about, again, the CEO mindset that you have to have, this leadership mindset that you have to have. Everybody's all about like the fancy, the laptop lifestyle. How do I make this money? How do I quit my job? How do I do all these things? But no one is talking about the leadership that you really need to develop. And so being quite honest, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of leadership skills that I really need to develop within myself. I know leadership is like a huge topic, and there are a lot of people that are, experts on all the different nuances of leadership. And so while I am no means an expert on leadership, either in an academic sense or even in my own life, one key facet that I am realizing is really, really important with leadership that is going to help you grow your business, whether you are a solo entrepreneur or you are starting to scale out and build a team, is that of accountability. So I feel like accountability is really the bedrock of leadership in the sense that true leaders, first and foremost, must be able to hold themselves accountable and must be able to hold others accountable. And I say this because so often we kind of live in a fantasy world where we think about, okay, I want this, right? Whether it's I want this result in my business, I want this result in my personal life, I want this result from my clients, but we often fail to take into account human nature. And I can say this as someone who is in the coaching industry, often human nature is one of procrastination, is one of fear, is one of making a commitment and then going back on it. It's, one of sometimes being not stable and committed to the work that we decided to do. Oftentimes we have those characteristics within ourselves unless we do the work to root them out. But oftentimes the people that we are working with, whether it's a client capacity or a vendor capacity or an employee capacity, oftentimes if they are not in the world of personal development and they haven't taken the time to really work on those characteristics, they're going to be manifesting this kind of like, I don't know, fear mind, procrastination. Ooh, I said I would do this thing. I don't know. Can I jump out? You will be coming across and dealing with a lot of people like that. And so first and foremost, it's really important that you get a handle on that for yourself, and that requires self-leadership. But then it's really important that you learn how to hold others accountable so that everyone can get to the goal. And so one of my female heroes is Harriet Tubman. I think she's just like, well, she was amazing. For those of you that don't know, Harriet Tubman was actually an ex-slave. I love saying ex-slave because she escaped to freedom on her own, but her story is so amazing because she brought so many slaves and helped them escape as well. So she escaped herself, and then she went back something crazy like 10, 12, 11 times helping other slaves in America find freedom. Now, what's crazy about Harriet Tubman, and I kind of like this because it's like this rebel spirit, she would threaten people, right? She would bring a pistol with her, and oftentimes the journey was really hard, it was dark, there was always danger of being caught, and you had some slaves who were coming along with her who started to get scared, and they're like, I don't know, maybe we should turn back. But again, as a leader, she recognized that that was going to jeopardize not only herself, but all the people that she was bringing with her. And so her accountability was that pistol, like, oh, you turning back, you're gonna meet Smith and Wesson, right? Because we have to keep going. And so that might seem like an extreme example, but as a leader, you're gonna have to develop various tools in order to hold other people accountable, in order to hold yourself accountable as well. And so I've even seen this in my own business, especially when I was just getting started and before I even had a team. So I don't want you to think this is something that is only applicable when you had a team. But I remember, I want to say in 2015, I was really serious about getting my business to a place where I could quit my job. In 2014, I had started to kind of dip my toe into building an online coaching brand. I had been blogging up until that point. I was, in college, then I graduated, and I was just kind of doing this work on the side. But towards the end of 2014, I had held my first women's empowerment event in Dallas, Texas. And then in 2015, I was really focused on developing personal development programs around self-discipline and other life coaching topics. And so I remember there was a friend of mine who was also building a business, and I said, oh man, why don't we be each other's accountability partners? And we were like, yes, we are going to, be at the start of the year and talk about all the amazing things that we're gonna accomplish. And we're gonna meet every 2 weeks. We would meet at this breakfast restaurant and we would talk about what we went over. But something started to happen over the course of a few weeks or a few months. I noticed that when I had excuses, right? And I readily admit, as I was growing my business, there were times that I was in fear-based thinking, procrastination, again, not holding myself to the commitments that I had made. I would come to those meetings and I would always have a great excuse, right? I would always have a rational excuse. And I would, give her that excuse and she would say, oh, okay. And then she would tell me what she did, or if she didn't hit her commitment, she would, tell me an excuse and I would be like, oh, okay, And so towards the end of the year, when we looked back at our progress, we both, I think, had made more progress than we would have had we been on our own. But I realized that that situation wasn't real accountability. And I say that because oftentimes we think accountability is just, having another person there to ask us questions. But accountability is really about there being consequences on the other side, right? So again, that Harriet Tubman example, she had that pistol on the hip. There was a really big consequence if others weren't going to keep, marching towards freedom. And so you're going to have to come up with that proverbial pistol for yourself in your own life. And so, in this situation, the friend that I was working with, she was empathetic and she would just really listen to, what I had to say, but she wasn't like really holding me accountable to the result. But I noticed something interesting. The next year, as I was continuing to build out my business, I brought on an intern who also was really good with video editing. And so I would tell her, hey, I want to produce, X amount of videos. We're going to create this for social media. And so I need you to edit these things. And she was like, great. She was actually getting credit for helping me with this video editing. And something strange happened because I had essentially brought her on and there were consequences for me not providing the video, right? Because she was actually getting school credit for interning for me. Magically, all of the videos and all of my marketing were always done every week, right? Even if I had to rush the night before to get it done, there was an inner compulsion where I was magically holding myself accountable to get this done because there were consequences on the other side. I knew not only was it gonna hurt my business if I didn't do what I needed to do, but it was actually gonna hurt her and it was gonna hurt her ability to get college credit. So that's an example of what I'm talking about. Leadership is the ability to build in accountability first for yourself and then for others that you are helping to achieve the goal. So I'm learning a lot more about leadership and I'll be sharing more in various videos. But if you find yourself, especially if you're watching this at the beginning of the year and you're tired of kind of, going back and forth, saying that you're going to do things in your business and then not really accomplishing it, understand that it might be a leadership issue and the root of leadership is accountability. So first, build in that accountability for yourself so that you are accountable to the goals that you set, and then make sure that you are holding others accountable so that everybody gets to the goal together. And so if one of your goals is not only being a leader for yourself, but being a leader in the online business space, being a leader in the online coaching space as a personal brand, then I invite you to schedule a call with my team to learn more about my program, the Next Big Name Bootcamp. So yes, it's all about, building an online coaching brand and, earning money and getting clients and being successful. But beyond that, it's really about being the next big name, like being a leader in your particular field and in your particular industry. So if that really interests you, go ahead and click the link below in order to apply. And if your application is accepted, you'll be invited to a call with my enrollment coordinators where we can tell you more about the program and hopefully get you signed up. So with that, I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you can't wait for my next video, make sure that you are subscribed to my podcast, The Courtney Sanders Show, on both iTunes and Spotify. And if you can't wait for my next podcast episode or my next YouTube video, make sure you are following me on Instagram. It's CourtneyLSanders on Instagram. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.